Hi, my name is Will Bauer. This is video 3. The focus on this video is going to be about norms and student discourse. In video 1, we explored the anchoring phenomena for this unit. In video 2, we looked at the unit storyline and where this fits into the whole scope and sequence of OpenSciEd, the 3 years. Then we also, I kind of detailed the problematizing routine and where it comes up in lesson 9 in the OpenSciEd metabolic reactions unit. In this video, we are going to focus on norms and supporting student discourse. And the strategies I'm going to outline are in this video, are going to be the peer feedback tools, which are in the OpenSciEd handbook. And then another kind of strategy I've used to encourage student discourse is using like a poster session. And I credit that to some training I took with the argument-driven inquiry group. So that's kind of the focus for today. So just a reminder, the OpenSciEd norms are listed here. They are to be respectful, equitable, committed to our community, learning together. And fourth one is moving our science thinking forward. Okay, so great list of norms and expectations, but implementing them into your classroom, that's where the work is. Okay, so here are a few strategies I found useful to make these norms a reality. So I am going to open up the teacher handbook, okay, and we're going to go to page 64. Again, this is not specific to one unit, but kind of gives some strategies of how to teach the OpenSciEd curriculum in general. So for peer feedback, you'll often probably use this strategy when the students are doing some modeling, a lot of modeling, and you want that feedback to be useful and constructive. So one strategy that they suggest is from the Tools for Ambitious Science Teaching. This is a group out of University of Washington, and they have this sticky note protocol. And they give some examples here of what it looks like, some sentence starters, examples of helpful feedback, and nice but not very helpful feedback. I'm definitely going to be using this in my classroom. I like this graphic. So this is an excellent resource, and I encourage you to get the Ambitious Science Teaching book. I carry a copy with me at all times. It's a great supplement to the OpenSciEd curriculum. A lot of synergy, I guess. They're great minds think alike. Okay, so let's look at some other strategies that are listed there. I clicked out that too soon. So there's rubrics that OpenSciEd provides, and they're a great structure to help students give each other really specific feedback, either from like a gallery walk or exchanging their models or scientific explanations. So here's an example from one from the sound unit. And so they are kind of organized with like what components need and interactions of need to be described in their model. Students mark it up of whether it's missing, maybe partway there, or it's mastered, and then they give some written feedback. Here's one from the McKenna unit. You know, they figured out that she has celiac disease. Is that in the model? And if not, give some feedback. And then here's the stuff about all the different scientific principles that they should include in their justification. So that's a tool that students can use to give each other feedback. Another thing I like that they include is this little self kind of assessment about the process of giving feedback and also receiving feedback. So I really like these prompts. It's a good way to see if the students are finding the opportunity to give each other feedback valuable, if they're doing it correctly. And then also if like the feedback they received from a peer was helpful. So I think this is a nice thing to use before you do this feedback protocol and afterwards, once they've received their feedback, to assess how the process went. And if you need to revisit some of those norms, if the process didn't work out how you expected it. And this is something you could use, the receiving feedback. You could use that, when you grade the papers as a teacher, like have the students reflect on the feedback they received. That's a little bit about the peer feedback tools in the teacher handbook. So you can use those when you deem appropriate. I think modeling is a good opportunity to give peer feedback. I want to share an example of, I think it was from lesson 7, when I field tested this unit. So the students did an investigation around this net logo simulation about the villi, and they can move the villi up and down and make them bigger and smaller and collect data. So students kind of designed their own investigation and said what their variables were and collected data. And then I had them do like a poster session with each other. So they were in groups of like 3 or 4 students, and they made use this kind of template from argument-driven inquiry to present their results from their investigation they did with the villi simulation. So they had their kind of evidence and their graph, their interpretation of their graph, and then kind of the scientific principles that they used to justify what's going on. Here's what it looked like in action. So this is a picture from my classroom in 2019, so pre-COVID. And I posted this to Twitter when OpenSciEd was doing a hashtag contest, and this tweet or another one got me $100. So keep an eye out, follow OpenSciEd. They throw some money around on Twitter. And so the students followed this template, and the student presenting here, he's got his data like on his computer too. And these are 2 students from a different group, and they're like rotating through and visiting these different poster boards. So this is like, a scientific conference you would see at a college. And here my 6th, 7th, and 8th graders are doing a little mini version of that in my classroom, trying to investigate, what the role of the villi are in absorbing nutrients in McKenna's body. So that's a great way to get the students talking and acting like scientists. So I'll included a link to argument-driven inquiry if this is something you're more interested in, and it can kind of walk you through the stages. I encourage you to like take a training from them if they're in your area or over Zoom. So there's some kind of video to help you kind of see the different stages of it and different ways to support that process of them kind of making their own posters. Okay, there's kind of how I got my room organized, and they rotate through and present to each other. And then that would be another great opportunity for some, peer feedback. You could leave a sticky note at each poster. So those are a few examples of how I try to live out the OpenSciEd norms in my classroom and get my students talking about science. Strategy number one was the peer feedback tools and OpenSciEd teacher handbook. And then I shared how we make posters with these big giant whiteboards. And that was a strategy I took from argument-driven inquiry. You can get these big, huge whiteboards like from Home Depot and stuff. They're pretty cheap. So it's good to have a set of 7 or 8 of those if you're doing some group work. They really help foster some collaboration and good discussion. So after this video, reflect on how the OpenSciEd norms fit into your established classroom expectations, and how are you, going to support student discourse and inquiry in this unit. So I provided a couple examples, but think about what are some strategies that you've used. Where would they be appropriate to help students talk about what's going on with McKenna? And so that's it for this video. The next video coming up, video 4, we're going to do an overview of the assessments in OpenSciEd, primarily focused on the summative assessments, but I'll show you where the assessment system overview is, and where assessments are embedded in every lesson. So that's it for this video. See you in the next one.